Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me, John Smith, with Punk Rock Politics. All right. Excuse me 1 second there. All right. This is from the Seattle Times. If you watch my previous video, I was setting you up for this, but I give you a ton of information on all the infections all over the world and all the prison riots and all the different things going on. And I hope Donald Trump is serious about releasing nonviolent offenders from federal prison. Because he isn't serious. When you hear this, you're going to see he's not taking everything with the coronavirus very seriously. It's just a mishmash of insanity and inconsistency, like it always is with Donald Trump. And there's always something underneath. There's a reason this is happening, and it's to confuse and scare people so they can do corrupt things and pass bills that, benefit the wealthy and hurt the middle or lower class or aren't sufficient enough to really help. There's a reason this is happening. There's many reasons it's happening, but it really comes down to this: power and money. Bernie Sanders' coronavirus response is far superior, and you should definitely check it out. I've done several videos of it, showed a few of his speeches, and I'm going to be releasing all types of material in the next couple of days. So please make sure to subscribe. Double click for the bells, little things like this, little like parentheses almost around the bell on YouTube, or click all, and so you get my alerts for my new videos, or else you might not get any. This happens a lot when you just subscribe and don't click twice or click all. And check out patreon.com/punkrockpolitics, and please become a patron. It starts as little. The first tier is just $1, and if you don't like it, you can cancel before the month's out, before the first of the month. Trump, this is from the Seattle Times. Business. Trump says he intends to reopen country in weeks, not months. This was released today, March 23rd, 2020 at 2:02 p.m. And it was updated March 23rd, 2020 at 6:14 p.m. Okay. This article is by Josh Boeck, Ricardo Alonso Zaldivar, and Jill Colvin, the Associated Press. Washington, AP. As cases of coronavirus continue to rise, President Donald Trump said Monday that he wants to reopen the country for business in weeks, not months, as he claimed without evidence that continued closures would result in more deaths than the pandemic itself. It just hurt your brain when you read this stuff. It's just, I don't even know what that means. We can't have the cure be worse than the problem, Trump told reporters at a briefing, echoing a midnight Sunday tweet. We have to open our country because that causes problems that, in my opinion, could be far bigger problems. Health experts have made clear that unless Americans continue to dramatically lift social interaction, staying home from work and isolating themselves, the number of infections will overwhelm the healthcare system, as it has in parts of Italy, leading to many more deaths. While the worst outbreaks are concentrated in certain parts of the country, such as New York, experts warn that the highly infectious disease is certain to spread. But with the economic impact now snapping into focus and millions out of work, businesses shuttered, and the markets in freefall, all undermining Trump's re-election message, the chorus of backlash is growing louder, with Trump appearing to side with them. Life is fragile and economies are fragile, Trump said, insisting he could protect both. While he acknowledged that there were trade-offs, there's no question about that. He claimed that if closures stretch on for months, there would be probably more death from that than anything that we're talking about with respect to the virus. Let me stop right here. What Donald Trump is actually telling you is that we're not going to keep giving you money. We're not going to give you health care. We're not going to give you Medicare for all. We're not going to give you a UBI or, make it so you get higher wages when you return to work or start to. And if the pandemic continues, you better go back to work. You'll be fine. Just make sure we take care of the wealthy. The comments were further evidence that Trump has grown impatient with the pandemic even before it has reached its expected peak. In recent days, tensions have been rising between those who argue the country needs to get back up and running to prevent a deep economic depression, and medical experts who warn that unless more extreme action is taken, the human cost will be catastrophic. We can't shut in the economy. The economic cost to individuals is just too great, Larry Kudlow, Trump's top economic advisor, said it in an interview Monday on Fox News Channel. The president is right. The cure can't be worse than the disease, and we're going to have to make some difficult trade-offs. It's an opinion that has been echoed by others in the White House, some Republicans in Congress, and on Fox, where host Steve Hilton delivered a monologue Sunday night that appeared to have, at least partially, inspired Trump's tweet. You know that famous phrase, the cure is worse than the disease? That is exactly the territory we're hurtling towards, Hilton told his viewers, describing the economic, social, and human impact of the shutdown as an even bigger crisis than the virus. What he's saying is that money, the almighty dollar, is all that matters, baby. And we're all capitalists. We're not going to have fair, democratic policies that the people want. So bite the bullet, get sick and die. We don't care, because we're going to be protected, but you're not. We're going to have that health care that you're asking for. You're not. We're going to have top-of-the-line medicines and doctors and hospitals and surgeons. You're not. We're living in big, giant mansions in New York, high in the sky, and acting like we're working-class poor, standing up for the poor. Just nonsense. Anyway, this ridiculous guy continues. You think it's just the coronavirus that kills people? This total economic shutdown will kill people, he said, pointing to growing poverty and despair. Yeah, because the Trump administration is not acting accordingly to address the crisis, and has allowed this deep, deep chasm and cuts to government programs that hurt disadvantaged people. Worse than what the Obama administration tried to do and did, and the George W. Bush administration, the Clinton administration, but they're just continuing on the neoliberal tradition. But Trump has, it's culminated into a boiling pot of nonsense and shit. Trump, who for the last 2 weeks has largely allowed doctors to lead the administration's response, already seemed to be shifting in that direction. I'm not looking at months. I can tell you right now, Trump said Monday, when asked about easing federal recommendations urging Americans to limit social contact and stay home. He said states with large caseloads could continue to enforce stricter measures while other parts of the country return to work. Even as Trump tweeted that he would be waiting until the end of the current 15-day period of recommended closures and self-isolation to make any decisions, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention were exploring new guidance, making it possible for people working in critical infrastructure jobs who have been exposed to the virus to return to work faster by wearing a mask for a certain period of time, Vice President Mike Pence said. It's a change in tone that is drawing criticism from public health experts who suggested Trump risks making a dangerous mistake if he sets up a conflict between public health and the nation's economic well-being, given how unlikely it is that the threat posed by the virus will subside in another week. If the U.S. stops social distancing too soon, you will have more deaths and more dives in the stock market, warned Lawrence Gostin of Georgetown University, a lawyer with extensive public health expertise. And the outbreak could come surging back once people return to their normal routines of commuting, working, dining out, and socializing, further stressing the economy. John Auerbach, president of the nonpartisan Trust for America's Health, which works with governments at all levels to improve preparedness for public health emergencies, said widespread illness and death also have a powerful economic impact that's impossible to ignore or play down. If you don't flatten the curve and minimize those who are getting infected, the amount of sickness will cripple business, said Auerbach. Even Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, a close Trump ally, urged Trump to stick with the advice of public health officials. There is no functioning economy unless we control the virus, he warned on Twitter. Try running an economy with major hospitals overflowing, doctors and nurses forced to stop treating some because they can't help all, and every moment of gut-wrenching medical chaos being played out in our living rooms, on TV, on social media, and shown all around the world. But Stephen Moore, a former Trump economic advisor, said it's now time to start thinking about what kind of dramatic costs to society we are absorbing from the shutdown, including tens of millions unemployed and potential spikes in drug overdoses and suicides. He said he has been urging his former colleagues to selectively open the economy in ways that minimize the public health risk with more testing and, for instance, taking people's temperature in public places as they are now doing in other countries. There's no good solutions here. There's just bad solutions, Moore conceded, and to me the worst solution is to just grind our economy to a halt. Other economists warned that if Americans return to work too soon, there could be recurring outbreaks that would only worsen a recession. But if the period of isolation continues for too long, there will be a steep cost to trying to restart and sustain economic growth. Joe Brusueles, chief economist at the consultancy RSM, said lifting restrictions after 15 days would be potentially a profound policy mistake because it could lead to a second or third wave of outbreaks that would do even more harm to economic growth. We got one shot to get this all right, Brusueles said, noting that Trump has a great deal at stake personally, given the upcoming election in November. Do you hear this? He has to appeal to Trump personally because Trump is a megalomaniac, a sociopath, or as a ton of psychologists are scared of his behavior and said that they broke their own rule. They usually don't, they don't diagnose people from afar, but they see Donald Trump plenty, and they said that they believe he's got a narcissistic personality disorder. Not good. Look it up. Pretty obvious and dangerous, especially when you're the president or any person in power. And so this guy continues, Brusueles. The last thing one would want to do from an economic policy perspective is to elevate one's electoral interests above that of the economy or, most importantly, public health. Analysts at Morgan Stanley estimated Monday that the economy will shrink at a record-breaking annualized pace of 30% in the second quarter. The unemployment rate would surge to 12.8%, the highest level ever in data that go back to the 1940s. But this forecast assumes the outbreak peaks in late April, after which there would be a fewer reasons to restrict economic activity, and a sharp rebound would begin in the June-August quarter, leading to solid growth in 2021. Austin Goolsbee, an economist at the University of Chicago and a former advisor to President Barack Obama, says there is no real tension between containing the outbreak and preserving the U.S. economy. He has repeatedly emphasized that halting the outbreak is needed so that growth can resume as companies feel comfortable hiring and consumers ramp up spending. Anything that slows down the spread of the virus is by far the best thing to restore the economy, Goolsbee wrote on Twitter. For most people, the coronavirus causes only mild or moderate symptoms, such as fever and cough. For some, especially older adults and people with existing health problems, it can cause more severe illness, including pneumonia. Worldwide, more than 375,000 cases have been reported, and while most people recover in weeks, more than 16,000 have died from the virus. Boak reported from Baltimore. So you see only a few people, even within supporters of Trump and Trump administration, sticking up for Trump. Even Lindsey Graham is blasting these ridiculous comments. Not a big fan of Lindsey Graham. He should have never been in power. But when on rare occasions, when he realizes it's a sober situation and makes the right policy agreements, we have to give people credit. This is not a game. Politics is not a game. It doesn't matter if somebody is an evil monster and for some reason they have a moment of clarity on certain issues. You say, this is the right thing. These are all the wrong things they've done and are doing, but this is the right thing to say and do. And Donald Trump is putting us all in danger. So call the White House, flood it with emails, tweet at Donald Trump on his Twitter, respond to him, get him excited. If you don't understand what I'm saying, certain people watching that don't use Twitter, it's you hit like the @ button, like when you do like @gmail.com or @whatever.com, AOL.com. I'm not trying to specify any specific, company, just the first thing that popped into my mind. @whatever.com. Well, it's and then you put in the person's Twitter handle. If you don't know a person's Twitter handle, you can simply look it up, through a search engine search, whether it be, and again, in case you don't know what that is, whether it be Bing or Firefox or Orfox or Google or whatever, and you can just simply type in I'm sorry, I feel like I sneezed. Excuse me. It's coming on. It came and went. So for instance, if you want Mitt Romney's Twitter handle, his official Twitter handle, you look it up. When it's a government official or somebody important, it almost always has a little blue star on it to say it's verified if they're a public figure. So make sure it's the right account, because a lot of people make jokes and say they're at real Donald Trump T or something, or you know what I mean, a million things. But it'll be verified. It'll say he's the president and have that little blue circle, star, or check mark, or whatever it is that says it's a verified Twitter account. And what I'm getting at is not just Donald Trump. Call out all the politicians that you hear saying nonsense. One of my other videos, I let a little thing where it's info@berniesanders.com or something like that. No. I'm not sure if that's it. Sorry. I'm not sure if that's the right email. But the point is he has a link, Bernie Sanders, so you can tell him what you think of his plan and what needs to be done. So do it. He actually cares. He's having people send in all kinds of emails and having people pour through them, or having a computer pour through them, and trying to get ideas from the American public. What are these people doing? They're screwing us. The rest of them, most of them, are screwing us, especially Donald Trump and many in the GOP. There are some that are like making milk toast or average, like, oh, we'll give people, like, if they're single, they'll get $600, and if they're a couple, they get $1,200. That's nothing. People paying rent, people paying mortgages, and even if they're not paying those things, car payments, cell phone, internet connection, cable, food, clothes, medical supplies, prescription drugs, because we don't have Medicare for all, which we need now. Just unbelievable. At least for this crisis, we need Medicare for all for every single person within our borders, or else we could all be put at risk. Everybody is at risk. Anybody could die. Anybody can get sick. People my age and younger there's been a lot of reported cases of people dying all over the world that are in their 20s and 30s. It affects everyone. Be safe. Wash your hands as much as you can. I started talking to a healthcare professional. She told me, she's older, she told me, every time you touch a hard surface, wash your hands. Seriously. It can be transmitted. It can stay on surfaces for a long time. Practice social distancing. Insist other people practice it when you do have to go out in public. Help your neighbors. Ask them if they need to have some food dropped off while you go to the store, to limit everybody's connection with the disease, or exposure rather. You could leave it on their front porch. If you have the extra money and they're suffering, obviously chip in whatever you can to help them, or ask other neighbors to chip in. They can leave money in the mailbox, not even open the door. You bring your little hand sanitizer, or you wear some gloves, and just be safe. All right. If you can't get those supplies, pressure your government. We need to mobilize and have these factories close down and start working to help us and save us from this crisis, which could last a lot longer than they even project. We don't know. We don't know how long it's going to take to cure it. We don't know how many people are going to die. We need to do something. So, again, go to patreon.com/punkrockpolitics. Consider becoming a patron, please. Support the channel. It's the lowest tier is just $1. You get extra perks and early access to videos and all kinds of stuff. I'm going to be sharing a bunch of my videos on Patreon tonight. I've gotten no subscribers yet. Or no, not no subscribers. I've gotten subscribers on YouTube. I've gotten no Patreon. They call them patrons. Patrons. But the website is patreons.com/punkrockpolitics. But yeah, it's a little bit of a tongue twister. It's a cute idea, but it's like patrons Patreon, and something I always mess them up. So listen, this is serious though. Be safe out there. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Punk Rock Politics. Stay informed, stay active, comment, share, like. Go ahead and dislike. Let's have a conversation though. All right, let's all come together as Americans, as U.S. Americans, and let's beat this disease. Thanks again.